enjoy, so that you can remember who I am. I'm a former student of yours. I first took your Hypnotism Training 101 at your older school, Westwood address, in January of 1980. I returned to your new address in Glendale to take Hypnotherapy 201 about a year and a half later. Since that time, well, even since the January class that I attended, I went back to my hometown of McCook, Nebraska and started practicing. And I've been a daily practitioner of hypnotism ever since, and it's a wonderful profession. About 3 or 4 years ago, I taught hypnotism to a dentist here in Fort Smith. Very respectable dentist with one of the largest practices in Fort Smith. Unlike most dentists who knew something about hypnosis, and unlike most hypnotists who like to give seminars on this kind of thing, I'm the kind of guy that likes to get right in the middle of things. And so what I did is I went right into his office and hypnotized his patients while he worked on them. I'd never done that before, and it was quite an experience. Since that time, I've taught 5 dentists hypnosis and gone right into their office. I don't make a lot of money doing it, but I get a lot of knowledge. I was, as you may remember, I told you anyway, you may not remember since you see so many people, and I do too, but I was undefeated in the United States as a collegiate wrestler, and I now know, from that experience, I know what it takes to be good. It takes practice. Knowledge and practice. I'm going to give you a couple of experiences that I had in your school, which I hope will help you remember me. In your Glendale school, when I attended that class, Hypnotherapy 201, you taught us, I think the first day, maybe the second, a quick technique to relieve headaches. We broke for lunch. During that lunchtime, I was eating some French fries at a place, or attempting to order some French fries, and there was a girl there who was crying, who was taking our orders. And a lady next to me had said, "Honey, why are you crying?" And she says, "I have a headache." And so I thought immediately, well, here's my opportunity to not only help a person, which is what our profession's all about, but to try that technique that you had just taught us an hour or two before. So I grabbed her arm and I led her down the counter, and I took her to the back room into the kitchen. Of course, the cooks were there, and they said, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, we'll just be here a couple of minutes. Do you mind?" They said, "No." I used this technique, and when we finished, she was smiling and happy. I ate my dinner, and after eating my dinner, I'd been there 30 minutes. I left, and she smiled and waved goodbye and seemed to be in a good mood. When I went back to class, I attempted to tell you about this, and you said, "No, wait till the students are all seated, and then I'll have you tell everyone." Well, I got up in class, and I told them just what I'd said to you. And the students raised their hands, and 2 or 3 of the questions immediately were the same question as, "Did you relieve her headache?" Of course, my answer to them was, "I don't even know if she had a headache." Here's what I know. I know that I walked in there, she was crying. I walked out, she was smiling. In between that time, the only thing different in her life was I used this technique that Mr. Gil Boyne had taught us. So I assumed that she got relief from whatever discomfort she was feeling. And that's what I know. It worked. And that's one experience I hope that you'll remember me by. I know I'm a former student, but I'm not just an ordinary former student. I'm one of those truth seekers. As you remember, when I first, in your Westwood school, when I first decided to discover hypnosis, I was not looking for the occupational title, professional hypnotist. I just wanted to know the truth about hypnotism. I had studied psychology at 3 different universities in 2 different countries, and every time I'd raised my hand after the instructor had labeled and categorized someone's behavior as a manic depressive or neurotic or insomniac, I would raise my hand and say, "Well, sir, you've just labeled their behavior this or that. Can you show me or tell me a technique you're going to use to rid them of that behavior?" That question was never answered. So in essence, I thought, well, why would I want to go charge somebody $60 an hour and not get any results? I don't understand that. That doesn't sit well with me. So I more or less dropped out of school, although I continued my studying in parapsychology, psychology, metaphysics, religion, all self-taught literature that I would write off for and read. And I started working for my father, and then he sold his business. And when he did that, that's when I went to California to study acting. I studied acting for 2 weeks and was doing real well, and decided to check out your school. When I went into your school, you set me down on a couch, which you may remember later in that week as you were teaching us. You had said that some investigators had come in to disprove hypnosis and had made fun of your couch, even though it had cost $800 or $1,200. We all know the shallowness of some people and their zeal into find discredit in things they don't understand. So that was pretty simply understood to me. The couch was very comfortable, it was very clean, and it was very pretty. Nevertheless, I sat there with you, and you put your arm up on the couch very comfortably, and I asked you, is hypnosis real? You said, yes, it is. I said, can I make money with it? You said, yes, you can. Those are the two questions I wanted to know, and you answered them. And so I decided to pay my last $400. And I've never been a seeker of money in my life, which is obvious because even today I have very little. Even though my practice is good, I don't have a continuation of people coming back for a very simple reason. I get results. I'm just now realizing the business aspect of hypnosis, and that I should have people come back because they really should pay for that service just for the relaxation, if nothing else. And I plan to do things with that. But in the meantime now, since my career has gone on now for 8 years as my only occupation, I've decided to write this book. Dr. Kilpatrick here in Fort Smith and Dr. Graves in McCook, Nebraska, where I come from, have both asked me to write a book about what I had taught them while I was with them in their office. My first thought was them is, why didn't you tape it? I wouldn't have to write all this down. And they said, well, don't you want to make any money? And I said, well, sure, but that's a lot of work to write this stuff down, and I've never been a writer. But over the last 2 years, it's taken me about 2 years to write these 50 or 60 pages that are in your possession now. The first thing I did with this book is I developed those hypnotic techniques that are in the book. I gave those to the two dentists in 2 different states, told them to read those to the patient. Just read them. Hold them in one hand and read it to the patient to see if they'll work. They did that for 6 months. Worked every time. They said they were the best techniques I'd ever showed them. Since that time, they've redeveloped some techniques that they prefer, but these are techniques that are in my book and that do work. After I found that the techniques were successful, then I went ahead and filled in the rest of the book, which is common knowledge about hypnotism. Easily understood knowledge about hypnotism. The type of knowledge that people who aren't real interested in the hypnotism history or aren't real interested in hypnotherapy, because it is complex, even though the process, as you teach, is the best process on earth and you're the expert on that, and that process is easily teachable even from me to another person. Individualities in human beings is what makes that process confusing to people who aren't ready to understand it. So that's the reason for the simplicity of the book. The simplicity of this book is, to me, overwhelming and workable. And both dentists have read it prior to me sending it to you, and they enjoy it very much. Now, what I would like to know, of course, as I know, you have a publishing company. I know that you print material for people. You know, and I know that I could get someone here to print the book, which I end up may doing that. I don't know. That's up to you. I want to know, I do believe that your printing I would feel more trusting about and more confident in, because you've been doing this for so many years and the literature is right down our alley. I need to know from you, of course, the cost of the printing. I also am not educated to know if some people like yourself purchase the rights of this book or send me some money up front for the rights to this book, or anything like that of which you would know as a publisher. I think there's as I've already said, I know I could get someone to print it. It's just a matter of putting up the money to get it to print it. If that's all you're concerned with, is printing it for me, that's okay. Just give me the price. If you're concerned with not only printing it, but putting it into your catalog, that's of course great. So Mr. Boyne, I hope you read the book. I hope you like it. I hope you plan to do something with it. And thank you for your time. Let me just mention one other thing about my practice and my career thus far. I operate the Hypnotism Center here in Fort Smith. Unlike most hypnotists that I read about, even in your upcoming seminars where they specialize in one area of age regression or whatever it is, I specialize in all forms of human behavior. That's my what's stamped on my business cards. Hypnotism Center, specializing in all forms of human behavior. I've worked with bedwetters, nail biters, asthma, allergies, phobias, fears, migraine headaches, uncontrollable pain. One of my clients has sent you a testimonial that was unsolicited by me, telling you about me. Maybe you still have that in your files, perhaps not. If you'd like a copy of it, I'll send it to you. Again, you can see that this is a very informal letter tape. It was filmed by my son, my oldest son, who's 15. He does all my filming for me. Although we haven't done that much, we have filmed my classes that I teach at the local community college here. Those classes deal with the history of hypnotism. The course title is called Introduction to Hypnotism. I've taught that course for 5 years here. This course takes people from the earliest beginnings of hypnotism up to modern day hypnosis and the practice of hypnotism. And this course, along with referrals, are the only way I get business. I never advertise. I've never had the money to. Unlike most of the people who attended your schools, who were in their middle 40s or 50s even, already had a second career or a career that was ending and they want to incorporate hypnotism, I was free. I had no career, had developed no savings, and I've just been plugging along, gaining as much knowledge as I can. Knowing that someday, in fact, this book that I'm sending to you right now, the motivation behind it for me is to establish myself as an author, because the next book is the book I want to write. I'll tell you about that next tape, next letter tape. Thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.